Hi, and welcome to Bariatric Care, the podcast. I am your host, Dr. Connie Stapleton. I'm in a silly and playful mood today, so who knows what's going to come out of my mouth. In fact, I couldn't even decide what I wanted to title this episode. My working title was, What Are You Doing Differently This Time? But I really wanted to call it something like, those old habits that just creep back in. And I have this visual in my head because people say it all the time. I lost weight before and those old habits just crept back in. And all I can hear and see in my mind is that song about the ants came marching one by one. Hurrah, hurrah. It's like the old habits came marching one by one. Habits don't creep. They don't crawl. They don't have walks. They don't have walks. They don't walk. They don't creep. They don't slither. They don't crawl. Old habits come back into your world because you bring them in. So let's get started and talk about what are you doing differently this time? Here's the highlights from today's podcast. We're going to, of course, talk about the fact that surgery is, as you've heard a million times, just a tool. So what are you doing differently this time, meaning versus times in the past when you've lost weight? And if you've had surgery, what are you doing differently this time to make sure that you don't end up where you were before you had surgery? And then a reminder, my friends, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Then I'm going to give you 5 to-dos for doing something differently this time. Why am I giving you 5? Do I expect you to start doing all of these this week? No. But here's the deal. There's no one size fits all in the recovery from diseases, and that includes the disease of obesity. We have treatments for diseases, and we work toward recovering from diseases. So you've got to pick the tips and the tools that are going to work best for you. So, as always, in this podcast and all the others that you listen to, which are great sources of information, we're all going to give you a lot of different tips, a lot of different suggestions. You pick what works for you, but then do those things because nothing changes if nothing changes. And the focus of today's talk is, what are you doing differently this time? All right, let's get started. Now, the minute you walk into a bariatric center and you're talking about having surgery, you're going to hear from most of the people who work there repeatedly. Surgery is just a tool. You may come into the surgeon's office having heard from others you know who've had surgery that, I know, this is just a tool. And when I do my pre-surgical evaluations all day long, about half the people come in saying, I know, this is just a tool. But do you really believe that? Before you had surgery, or if you're preparing to have surgery, do you really believe in your heart of hearts that surgery is just a tool and that you're going to have to work your hind end off just like any other time you've tried to lose weight in order to keep the weight off after surgery? Because I don't think let me be careful with my words. I think a lot of people actually do understand in their head that it's a tool. I also believe that many people hope against hope, I might add, but they do have some level of hope somewhere in the back of their mind that this is the answer. Surgery is the fix. In fact, I've talked to some of my friends who have had surgery who blatantly say, of course I told the psychologist and the doctor and whoever else wanted to know if I knew that this was just a tool. And of course I said yes, but I honestly thought this was going to fix everything. Not just my weight, but all the other issues in my life, because a lot of people prior to losing weight, especially, and I understand this, I have great compassion for this. But if a person has struggled with weight for a very, very long time, it probably realistically feels like most of their problems are related somehow to their weight, their relationship problems, their friendship problems, their, being able to feel like they fit in or have as much worth or value as their other people that they know. But you know what just hit me while I was saying that? You know how annoying it is if you're the person who is struggling with the weight? You know how annoying it is if you go to see a physician and they make everything about your weight, right? Oh, I have a hangnail. Oh, it's because you're overweight. I've heard that example given a lot of times because a lot of times people who carry extra weight feel like their physicians dismiss some real medical issues because they blame everything on their weight. Let me question you with this. If you're the person carrying weight, how often do you dismiss or lump other issues in your life under that same umbrella? I literally just had that thought for the first time, but I'll bet there's some of that. And they're not that different issues, right? One, we get mad because somebody else is doing it. The other one we use sort of as an excuse for not making changes in other areas of our life. Not always, not everybody, so don't get your undies in a wad. But some people may realistically think all my problems are related to my weight. They're not. And unfortunately, people learn this after they've lost weight and still have a lot of the problems. My favorite saying to people is, if you don't like your mother-in-law before you get married, chances are you're not going to like her after you get married, simply because you got married. So if you're struggling with issues in your life before you have surgery, just the fact of having surgery is not going to get rid of a lot of these issues. But hope against hope, a lot of people enter the bariatric surgical process thinking that when I get the weight off, my life will be better. Not just health issues related to my weight, but a lot of other issues as well. A lot of people also, and this frightens me for people because they'll come in even knowing that surgery is just a tool, but they'll come in and they have so much hope in this one basket of the surgery, right? They'll say, this is my last hope. This is my last chance. Nothing else has worked. If this hasn't worked, if this doesn't work, I don't know what will. So then as we do the pre-surgical evaluation, I will ask questions like, have you lost weight before? What's worked best for you in the past? If you did this method and you lost that much weight, how long did you keep it off, et cetera, et cetera. And then never fails, the old habits come marching 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah. And people tell me those old habits just crept back in. No, they don't. You went back to the old habits, which leads to the question, why do you think it's going to be different this time? Well, because I'm prepared, because I'm committed, because I'm all those words, right? I promise. Those words are meaningless to me. I know they're not meaningless when you're saying them, but they're meaningless if there's no action to support them. Let me make this perfectly clear. Regardless of where you are in your weight loss journey and any other endeavor that you are taking in your life, whether it's to learn a new skill or like play the piano or learn Spanish or, whatever it happens to be, unless you do something and practice it and repeat it and do it, it's not going to get done. And that same reality applies to maintaining weight loss. If you don't do the things that you've done before for a short period of time, if you don't do them for a long period of time, as in the rest of your life, chances are good that you're going to regain some weight over time. So surgery, my friends, is indeed just a tool. It's a tool I highly endorse. It's a tool I am greatly in favor of. Make no mistake about that. I know that even if you've done the things you're supposed to do to help you lose weight in the past, and even if you don't return to those creepy old habits, that sometimes you reach a plateau. And I understand and have great compassion for the fact that sometimes you hit a plateau no matter what you do. Your biology is going to get in the way, or your genetics are going to get in the way, and you can't lose more. So I do understand that. And that is why I'm a fan of the tool of weight loss surgery. So, all in favor of the surgery? Absolutely. Understand that it is just a tool, right? And you're going to have to do some work. So if you have that idea that surgery is going to be the cure-all, get rid of it. Talk to people who had the surgery 4, 5, 10, 12, 18, 20 years ago, and they will tell you when they say surgery is a tool to help you get your weight off, that's all it is. Now, you can argue that you will maintain some restriction. That also is true. And in that sense, the surgery helps on an ongoing basis. However, some people have the false notion that they can eat whatever they want, but as long as they eat it in smaller quantities, they're going to keep that weight off. That is not true either. It is not true. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and try it on your own or talk to people who have regained a lot of weight. It's the quality of what you put in your body just as much as the quantity as what you put in your body. So we have to eat quality foods. That's one of those old habits that creeps back in, right? Going back to the junk food or the snack food or the blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what are you doing differently this time? People tell me all the time, I've lost weight in the past, but those old habits just creep back in. Just take a moment and indulge yourself in this comical little video in your mind. And think about your old habits that creep back into your life. So think about, a fast food joint just creeping back into your car. Or think about sitting on the TV or see yourself sitting on that TV. That might be a fun one, all of on its own. Imagine yourself sitting in your chair watching your favorite show, and here come the junk foods creeping up by you, and all of a sudden they land in your mouth and boop, flop right into your mouth. That is not how it happens, my friends. So if you hear yourself or your friends use the word, those old habits just crept back into my life, remind yourself and them that is just an easy way of letting yourself off the hook. Because what's happening in reality, and part of what's going to help us stay on track with our healthy development of our beautiful lifestyle that we are creating, that we have the choice to create, that we are responsible for creating, is to remember that when we minimize our own behaviors, when we don't take responsibility for ourselves, if we're not being accountable, then we're sort of letting ourselves off the hook, right? We don't want our kids to lie to us. Here's a little story. My grandson was they get lunch money or something for hot lunches at school, and they usually take their lunch. So if they spend money on that account, my daughter is able to see it. And so my grandson was buying lunch at school every day, even though he was taking his lunch. So she talked to him about this, and he did what young kids do, came up with all kinds of excuses so that he wasn't at fault and responsible and not doing this. We don't let our kids get away with that, right? Why do we let ourselves do that? And when we say those old habits crept back in, that's kind of what we're doing. So let's hold ourselves accountable, be healthy adults, and say, the truth is, I went out and bought that crap. The truth is, I put that crap into my pantry. And the truth is, when I was sitting there watching television, I got up off my hind end, went into that pantry and grabbed those junk foods, brought them back with me, and continued on and ate them. So it's not that they crept back in and magically hopped in your lap, and lo and behold, before you knew what was happening, you were eating a bunch of junk food. That's not the truth. So let's go with the truth. I know I'm hammering on this, right? But it's the reality. We have to look at what's actually happening. Okay, so what are you going to do differently? If you're in preparation or if you're a post-op. So let's talk, first of all, about what some of those old habits are. Eating a lot of fast food. You had a habit of driving through the drive-thru on your way to work and on your way home from work. Oh, and maybe even at lunch. Yes, I've talked to people who eat out every single meal. That is never going to result in anything good for your body. Emotional eating. You find yourself angry at work and you find yourself in front of the snack machine or in the break room. old habits, right? Eating before you're thinking about it. That evening, nighttime snacking and eating is a very common old habit. Buying things impulsively at the grocery store, eating a lot of the processed foods, having candy in your drawer at work, having the junk food in the pantry at home, eating a lot of starchy kinds of foods, not meal prepping, returning to sugary drinks, returning to larger portions, returning to I can just have one. Those kinds of things are those old habits. Not preparing your food, not taking your healthy snacks with you. So those are all of the old habits. And most of you will tell me you've done these things in the past. When I hear somebody who has an alcohol or drinking problem tell me I can quit anytime I want because I quit during Lent, I know they're just blowing smoke up their own rear end and they're buying their own BS. And when you say things like, I can quit eating junk food anytime I want because I've done it for 2 months in the past, that's not quitting. That's not even, that's just pausing. And nobody says you have to quit any of those things anyway, even after weight loss surgery. You just have to be accountable and reasonable and responsible for eating those things. And I'm not even going to say moderation, I'm going to say on occasion, because one person's definition of moderation may be very different than another person's. As evidenced by the fact when I ask people about how much they drink, oh, I don't drink. You don't drink at all? Well, yeah, I drink on the weekends. That's not drinking. But then they'll follow it up with, well, I don't drink like that. Like what? So I want to know, how much are you drinking? How often are you drinking in reality? So when you say, I don't eat junk food, do you really not eat junk food? Or do you just not eat it all day long? So again, be honest with yourself. Don't buy your own BS. Can you really quit anytime you want? And do you really want to quit eating all processed food? Probably not. So why bother say you're going to? What are you doing differently? I'm eating processed food on occasion, on rare occasions, and when I'm in a good, healthy mindset so as not to overdo. And I measure the serving size. That's okay, right? So what are you doing differently this time so that you don't get what you always got, which is a gradual return on your own volition? You are making the choice. You are doing the doing of getting the unhealthy behaviors. You can also doing the doing of learning new, healthier behaviors, enlisting other people to help you so you don't do the doing of the getting the unhealthy food. Oh, Lord, I probably lost you because I've lost myself. All right. So what are you doing differently? What are you doing differently? Because remember, weight loss surgery doesn't change bad behaviors. I said bad, didn't I? Weight loss surgery doesn't change unhealthy behaviors. It doesn't mean you are bad. Just like when our children lie, it doesn't mean they are bad children. It means they've made a bad choice. So when you make a bad food choice or you make a bad behavioral choice, don't beat yourself up, but remind yourself, like you would your child, you can do better. I can do better. I can make healthier choices. But nothing changes if nothing changes. So, what are you going to do differently? Well, here's some things that you can do differently because you don't want to find yourself engaging in those unhealthy behaviors. And I was talking with Laura Preston the other day, and we were talking about how in the beginning, for many, many people, meaning after you've had weight loss surgery during those honeymoon months, which are usually between, one year, 18 months, 2 years, that period of time, the surgery will help alleviate those unhealthy habits. And so people think that they're cured. It's easy to feel like the surgery did fix everything because for a while, it's going to make you sick if you eat certain foods. For a while, you're not going to have that much interest in food. For a while, fried foods may be such an absolute turnoff you can't even think about them. But over time, most people will tell you that you can tolerate almost any food, that you can eat more than you could the first year or two. So over time, it becomes easier. And if you're not remaining diligent, if you haven't put a lot of effort, if you haven't immersed yourself into this new way of life, it's very likely you're going to return back to the old lifestyles. So no matter where you are in this process, prior to surgery, in the honeymoon stage, maybe you've regained a lot of weight, maybe you're years out and are still doing well. It doesn't matter. Pay attention and look at where you're at today, because our circumstances can be improved. The choices we make can be improved. We can learn to do things differently, as evidenced by, if you've ever had a new job, you probably had to learn some new things. If you've ever prepared a new recipe, you might have had to learn a new way of cooking. If you've ever gone on a vacation to a new place, you had to learn how to navigate where you were. So you have the ability to make decisions that are going to benefit you. We all have that capability. So use it, and use it for your own benefit, and rejoice in what you are doing that is helping you along your way. So what can we do? What can we do? The first thing is, all right, here are 5 to-dos. And this is a big one, covers a lot of territory. Set boundaries for yourself. What do I mean by setting boundaries for yourself? And why do we set boundaries? Because we want to keep ourselves safe, and we want to protect ourselves from what? From those creepy old habits, right? That spring their little legs and just, sneak their way up your legs, into your car, into your cabinet. No, to protect ourselves from engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors. So if we set boundaries with ourselves, like the boundary for my grandson, you are to buy lunch at school 1 day a week. The consequence for buying more is you have no account and you can't buy any. So what are your boundaries for yourself, and what are the consequences? Well, the natural and logical consequences for engaging in some kind of behavior or indulging in foods that are going to make you feel bad, or having communication that makes you feel bad, like maybe you yelled at somebody, or maybe you were very shaming and critical of somebody else. That's going to make you feel bad, I hope, right? So whatever area it is in your life that you're trying to create a healthier lifestyle, then you have the choice to recognize what you're doing that isn't helping you or making you feel better about yourself, and implementing boundaries for yourself that will leave you A, feeling better about yourself, and B, having physical and emotional benefits from doing the same. So for example, if you find yourself really upset with somebody in your life, and your go-to has been in the past to find some food that makes you feel better, and you catch yourself and go, you know what? I'm going to call my friend instead and talk about this, or I'm going to journal instead, because I have set a boundary for myself that when I'm upset, I don't engage in seeking feeling good from food. That's just a boundary I've set for myself. So recognizing this is an emotional eating situation and I'm not doing that. So I've set a boundary for myself. Then I'm going to follow through with a healthier behavior. What's going to happen? The natural consequences of that are I'm going to feel proud of myself. It may not have been easy, but I'm going to be proud of myself. And I'm not going to have that mind effing that goes along with self-sabotage. So I'm going to feel better emotionally. I'm not going to feel sick from whatever it was I ate that didn't agree with me. And I'm going to be much more pleasant to be around. Those are the natural consequences of following through with the boundary that you set for yourself. Here's some other examples of boundaries that you can set for yourself, which again, remember, are intended to keep you safe, are intended to protect you from self-sabotaging behaviors. So maybe you say, I don't allow food at my desk where I'm working. I don't allow eating in my car. I don't allow eating anywhere but at the table in my home. So whatever your boundaries need to be for yourself, set those boundaries. All right. And again, it's to keep yourself safe. And lifestyle, remember, is about all the areas in your life. If you're going to go shopping, your boundary is this is how much money I have to spend on clothes. And that's it. Otherwise, the consequences are going to be being overdrawn, feeling guilty, being unpleasant to be around because now I'm feeling guilty and I did something I said I was going to do. And it's just a negative spiral. So set boundaries with yourself in all areas of your life. All right. Second thing, which is kind of a boundary as well, but it's bigger than that because your home has got to be your safe haven. Your home has to be a clean space. Your home has to be a place where you can't run to the cabinet. Or if you're bored at night, you can't run into the pantry, into the fridge and find a bunch of junk food. It has to be a safe place for you to be. And guess who's responsible for setting it up that way? You. But what if I live with other people? You're still responsible. That doesn't mean you can make other people do your bidding or do what you want because it's what you want. But you do have the responsibility to ask the people who live in your home to please respect your need to have some safety. You're not saying don't have what you want. Please don't have it where I can see it. Please don't, blah, blah, blah. And don't use your family as an excuse. Don't bring crap food into your house because your children need it. No, they don't. No, they don't. Who's responsible to teach your children how to live a healthy lifestyle? You are. So you can get your children a snack at the convenience store on the way home. You don't go in with them unless they're too young, but they get their snack, they eat it, they're done with it, right? It's not all over the house so you can sneak in and get their food and say you got it for the kids. Don't do that. It's a setup. Who's responsible for treating your disease of obesity? Oh, you are, right? Yeah, you can't blame other people because that's victim behavior, right? Well, I have to have it for my kids. No, you're just making an excuse because you want it for yourself. I know I'm being nasty and talking, but that's kind of how it is, right? All right. So keep your home a safe haven. All right. Third tool. All right. I don't like reading users' manuals, but they're there for a reason. And typically, if I really have to do something and I don't want to have to undo it and redo it because I did it wrong, I will use the dang instructions. I don't like them, but they're there for a reason. The same is true with your bariatric surgery. Listen to what your dietitian has told you. Your dietitian has spelled this out for you. It's a no-brainer, or it can be unless you want to complicate it, right? It's a no-brainer. Eat protein every so many hours. Eat protein first. In between the time, drink the water. This is how much water. This is how much protein. It is spelled out for you. Do it. You have the user's manual. You can't even say things like kids don't come with the manual, which they don't. However, you can buy a lot of manuals and learn a lot about parenting if you so choose. But we like to make excuses and say, nobody told me. Your dietitian has told you. Your dietitian has told you more than one time. If you are being a responsible post-op or pre-op, you are involved in the support groups. And you are hearing it time and time and time again. There's no secrets here, my friends. It's all been spelled out for you. Does that make it easy? No. But you know what leads to results? Doing. D-O-I-N-G. Doing. Doing. Perfectly? No. Consistently? Yes. Yes. It's not all or nothing. I eat all the protein or I eat none of the protein. I eat nothing but fast food or everything that is fast food. No, 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 no. Eat your protein. And if you're at a birthday party and you want to have a little piece of cake, have a piece of cake. But not every day and not every meal. Right? Unless you have a sugar addiction, then don't eat the cake, and that's a different discussion for a different day. Go back and find that podcast. Anyway, so first few things: set boundaries, keep your home a safe haven, follow the guidelines, eat all of your healthy food before the junk food. That's what I tell my kids. Hopefully, you tell your children or grandchildren or anybody you know, eat your healthy food first. Eat your healthy food first, right? Be Nike and do it. All right. Used personalized mantras. Figure out what works for you. I've shared mine before, but I'll share them with you again. When it comes to exercise, I don't debate with myself about whether I feel like it, whether it's too hot outside, whether it's too late, whether I have too much else to do. I don't have those debates and talk myself out of it, because that's what you're doing. Let's be real and own it. I say it's what I do. And then it's what I do. Now, you don't have to put on your shoes and go run. You can put on your shoes and walk around your living room. And you've done something, right? People say we got to start small. So start small. Do something. Have your mantra. It's what I do. Put on your shoes, walk to the mailbox and come back. And if you want to be done, then be done. But you did something, right? So be proud of yourself. What we're trying to do is set ourselves up to say, I did something. I did something that I can feel good about. I did something that moves me in the direction of my long-term goals. I did something that I feel proud of today. So do something, but have your mantras. I choose health. I choose health. I choose health. This can work in every single area of your life. Financial health. I choose health. This is my budget. I stick to it. If I go over it, I cut back on something else. This is my food budget. Did I get all my protein? No. So I'm going to pile up more tomorrow. I ate too many fats or carbs or whatever, then I'm going to cut back the next couple of days. It's a budget. My relationship, right? I need to spend time with my people or those relationships are going to fade. I have to put forth effort. I choose health in my relationships. I choose health in my finances. I choose health in my food. Perfectly? No. Consistently? Yes. Here's a great one, and I hope you tattoo this all across your arm. I deserve health. You know what? We tell ourselves we deserve cookies for going to work that day or for, not eating the entire cake. I deserve health. I deserve a good life. I deserve all the good that life has to offer, and I'm in charge of getting a lot of that. There are certain things we can't influence or control, but I am in control, and I can influence a whole lot of things that make my life better day by day by day by day. And a huge thing of that is in my mind, right? The way I think, the way I process things. If I'm going to beat myself up, we're going to take it easy on myself and say, I can do better. I can do better. And then go and do better. Okay, so I deserve health. I take good care of myself and others. Because a lot of us take a lot of pride in caring for others, and it's a good thing to do, right? We get a lot of goodies, a lot of self-esteem, a lot of self-worth, a lot of good, healthy emotions from taking care of others. So I take good care of myself and others. Use that as a mantra, but come up with something that's going to be a good mantra for you. And then learn some skills, because let me tell you something. I didn't know how to be a parent. I read the parenting books. I took a parenting class after I had my children because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, right? I don't have good communication skills. Then get online and learn healthy communication skills for adults. I don't know how to whatever. I don't know how to do a budget. Then get online and learn. Start a group and do it with your friends. Take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your financial health, your physical health, your emotional health, your relationship health, your spiritual health. Oh, yeah. It's a lot, right? I know it's a lot. But who's going to do it for you? Ain't nobody coming, says Mel Robbins, and it's the truth. So nobody's coming to do it for you. So here's your take-home messages. That's one of them. You're responsible for learning what you don't know, and you're responsible for the doing of the doing. that leads you to a better place in your life, because nobody's coming to do it for you. All right. Second thing to remember, surgery doesn't teach you how to do things differently. It just doesn't. Surgery doesn't teach you how not to emotionally eat. Surgery doesn't teach you how to break habits. Surgery doesn't teach you how to develop new habits. Surgery doesn't teach you how to stay motivated. Surgery doesn't teach you how to have better self-talk. Surgery doesn't do it. And if you don't learn it, those old unhealthy habits, they're going to grow longer legs and faster legs and creep into your life so much quicker than you ever knew they could sprint. And the last thing is, you have to do different than you did before, or you're going to get the same thing that you got, right? You got to go outside of that comfort zone, because that is where the magic happens. Always outside the comfort zone. So you get to choose. Here's my invitations for you this week. Get honest with yourself. Identify your excuses. Identify your self-sabotaging. Identify the things you do to set yourself up to beat yourself up over the head. And instead, make a loving agreement with yourself. And this is so awesome. Make a loving agreement with yourself that you deserve better from yourself. Right? We always say, I deserve to be treated better by other people. Yeah, you do. But do you get to choose what they do or how they treat you or how? No, you can choose whether you stay around those people or not. But don't you deserve better from yourself? Don't you deserve more love and care and kindness and respect and joy and laughter from yourself? Yeah. So you do. So bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on in heaps. Loving kindness. Even if you do something you're like, oh, I don't feel very good about that. I can do better. I can do better, and then do better. It's all in the doing. We are going to become do-dos. Do-doers. Do-doing doers. Anyway, just put up with me. All right. So until next time, and I don't know what I'm going to talk about next time, because here's what happens. I will say, next time on the podcast, I'm going to talk about such and such. And then I'll have this great interview with somebody. I'm like, no, I want to throw that in now. So I don't know what I'm going to talk about next time on the podcast, but it's going to be great and wonderful. It's going to help you help yourself, because that's what it's all about. You learning to help yourself, because nobody else is coming, right? So remember, until then, it's your health. It's your responsibility this day and every day. And you can get a lot more information, great tools, great support at bariaftercare.com. Become part of the Bari Aftercare community, because we got good things going on there. Check it out at www.bariaftercare.com, and I will see you next time, my friends. Till then, be nice to yourself. Bye-bye.